if you're recalibrating around, Towns and then, whatever you can get from Wiggins and then going forward, that's probably your best chance for long-term viability. And that is what the plan has to be, that in 3 years, when Cat is going into the third year of his contract and has 2 years left after that, he's got to be able to see, okay, now there is a path to real contention. And I think that's got to be the goal right now for the entire franchise.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the other thing about Towns and leadership and people rolling their eyes, has there been anybody in the NBA, other than maybe Magic Johnson, who's the finals MVP as a rookie, has there ever been anybody in the NBA whose leadership wasn't questioned at some point?
Well, that's it. I mean, that's just it. And, and Magic even got a coach fired.
Right.
And they used to call him Tragic Johnson.
Right, yeah.
Like, people forget,
Michael Jordan, his teammates didn't like him when he was young.
Right. And he couldn't beat Isaiah and Dumars, and he was trash.
And look at LeBron. We all know LeBron is he's a great player. He's a great human being. And yet his leadership gets called into question.
No doubt. And, I mean, the only guy I can think of right now is Steph. That's about it.
And he's earned it, man.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean.
Behavior on and off the court.
Westbrook,
but also remember with Steph, though, I mean, did we pass on him twice? I forget. Anyway.
No, that never happened.
I'll look it up.
But remember, for the first couple of years, it was less painful because he kept hurting his ankles.
Right.
So,
but at least from a leadership standpoint, he was always locked in.
And Golden State was a train wreck.
Right.
So when they signed Iguodala, that was like their big thing. That was like the dad move.
Yeah.
Then they draft Steph, but it was his ankles for a while, which actually in hindsight, then that let them be worse. So then they could get Clay and Draymond.
Yep, absolutely. And but that's kind of the thing that I try to tell people. I mean, whoever bellyaches about Towns, or even whoever bellyaches about Jimmy to an extent too, is there is a certain capital that you spend when you bring an elite player into your team in an NBA locker room, because these guys are marketed as individuals. The league kind of creates this sort of mentality, and they are so good and they can have such a major effect by themselves that there is always going to be something you have to deal with, whether it's Cat not being as mature as you want him to be at this stage of his career, whether it's Jimmy being the hard ass, LeBron being the mind game player with his teammates, Kyrie being freaking crazy in Boston this year, KD being moody, Russell Westbrook being an athlete, all of the elite players. There is this opportunity cost that you pay to add their talents to your team. And so that's why it's so important to have the right leadership in place as a coach, as the GMs or presidents, and to instill an environment around them that can not control, but can channel it in the right direction.
Good stuff. Let's get final thoughts. I also want to mention our other sponsor, Bite Squad. BiteSquad.com delivers breakfast, deliver lunch anywhere you are, including your office, dinner. They just recently added Ocean Air and some other really cool Minneapolis restaurants. They have a monthly deal. If you pay $5.99, you get deliveries free that month from anywhere within a 4-mile radius. And the good thing is when it shows up, it looks like restaurant food. Bite Squad, BiteSquad.com. Download the app, enter your information, and it makes everything very easy. No dishes, no waiting, no reservations. Final thoughts from each of you gentlemen.
Go ahead, Steve.
My final thought is I'm super stoked about the new management team. I can't pronounce any of their names, but that's okay. They're very smart, and that's much more important. And just as a fan, I just want to see some aggressiveness. I want to see some creativity, just like you talked about, John. And I'm very excited to see what they do with the draft. I have no inside information. Who knows what's going to happen? But it seems like they're moving up or moving back. It would be weird if they just stayed at 11. But I just feel like whatever they do, it actually is calculated for the greater good in the future, as opposed to let's just do a David Kahn and pick Johnny Flynn because he has a nice smile. Kind of nonsense.
And that actually reminds me of what's happening with the Twins right now. Is the Twins are going to make mistakes at some point, and they made mistakes last year in free agency. But once you get to know these people and watch how they operate and understand what they've built behind the scenes, they have a really good reason for everything they do. It's not all going to work, but there's a rationale. Everything's data driven. Everything is well researched. So if they screw up, at least they went through the right process that led to a decision that might end up. Whereas, like you said, David Kahn, some other people in the Wolves organization, all around this market, you see people who have made decisions based on almost nothing other than a gut instinct. And you do feel like the Wolves front office now is going to be like the Twins are, very data driven.
Yeah, and I do think the more that I kind of try to gauge what's going on around the league and talk to people who are interacting with these guys, I just do get the feeling that June 27th, the draft night, it's going to be something either there or right around there. It's going to be eventful. Like, I guess I just feel like they are really trying to be aggressive and trying to make moves, trying to make trades, and trying to get creative with what they're going to do and how they address these things. And so it may not be D'Angelo Russell, it may be something totally different, but they are really willing and able to go out and empty their clips. And one thing we saw from Tibbs and Layden in their first year is they didn't make any trades. They didn't do anything. They just evaluated. And I think that with the way that roster was constructed, that probably was a fine move. But with where this team is right now, they need someone that's going to pull some triggers. And I think these guys are going to do it.
And I don't really care who they draft. I mean, I'm not smarter than them, but I was thinking about this the other night. I would not mind just a shooter.
Yeah, Tyler Hero. I mentioned him today.
I think you had a tweet on that. It's like, and I don't know if it's him or whatever, but think about the shooters that the Timberwolves have.
Our guy, Buddy Hield.
Buddy.
Jamal
Murray. Curry. Thompson. I mean.
Well, they also took Wes Johnson, who was a perimeter player who wasn't as good a shooter as the center they passed on, DeMarcus Cousins.
It just like the four names, and five with DeMarcus, probably, well, for sure 2 Hall of Famers, first ballot. Okay, Thompson and Curry, Buddy and Jamal, who knows, but clearly good.
Right.
And we could have had all of them. Yeah. And so I hear people talking about this Brandon Clark, and he seems like a phenomenal dude and great defense or whatever, but he can't shoot.
Like, he's not a shooter.
And so, again, I mean, if anyone's listening, just maybe for once,
they're listening.
Just take the best shooter and let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's just try that for once.
Well, and finally on that, like, the draft is the time to do that because everybody is trying to get shooting in free agency, and they have no cap money to spend. And so that's the way you do it, is to get someone in-house early. And if it, like, I did tweet about Tyler Hero today from Kentucky. Shot the lights out from what I hear in Boston the other night, like 80 of 100 threes, like just like really just, really opened some eyes that way. And he's right now on our mock draft at the Athletic. Sam Vecini does an awesome job with it. Has him at 16. But he could be climbing. And like when you get down to 11, 12, 13, like if you think you have one guy who has some sort of elite skill, like just take it. Like, just grab it and go. And I don't, the more I hear about him, I don't think 11 is too high for that. Like, if you really think that this guy can be effective, just go for it. And don't worry about, well, he's actually slotted in, 14 to 18 or something
I could
like that.
give a crap about a slot just for once. Take an educated guess based on some analytics and make the choice, and then coach them up. Mm-hmm. Don't freak out.
Put them in a system that
Put them in a system. Let's have more than a system per year. Yeah, right. Right? There's a idea. Okay, I'm done.
This does remind me that, like, Okogie ended up being a really nice rookie, and I like him a lot. I like so much about him. But it does remind me, last year I was disappointed on draft day because they didn't get a shooter. Mm-hmm. And he's a good player, but man, I felt like they were just so close to getting a pure shooter.
Well, remember they had a run of like 3 or 4 right before Okogie,
and I liked all of those guys.
I loved him too. And then they said Okogie, and I'm like, who is that?
I know.
And I love Okogie. So again, that's why they're smarter than me. They're great, but they're not smarter than John.
Yes,
and he says pick the Tyler dude. So let's listen to
John. They're very much smarter than me. Absolutely.